Welcome back, guys, to another video for Alex's Flying Club. This is Alex, and we're in DC-3 again in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2004. And we're flying from the LaGuardia Airport in New York City to Wilkes-Barre in Pennsylvania. At least I think that's how you pronounce that city name. At first I thought it was Wilkes-Barre for some reason, but I looked it up on Wikipedia, and apparently it's Wilkes-Barre. This shows how much I know about Pennsylvania. Anyways, so I'm doing an abbreviated startup procedure here, and this video will be about 22 minutes long. We'll be flying through a lot of clouds. I've selected the cold fronts option in the weather settings, and the season is autumn. It's going to be in the daytime around noon. And before I get into the flight a little bit more, just wanted to say thank you to all my subscribers. I'm at 75 subscribers now, and it's really nice to see people watching the videos and your comments, especially constructive criticism and just your positive feedback as well. I really appreciate it, and it kind of gives me motivation to keep going with these videos. A couple people posted on my first video with the DC-3, and I really wanted to thank those people, but for some reason I can't get YouTube to approve those comments. I can't, like, they've changed their settings and I can't find it. So I have to play around with the settings, so if you don't see your comments appearing, don't think that I just ignored them. I'm just trying to figure YouTube's new technology out. So I've started both engines. I skipped over the all the different kinds of checks and certain switches to turn on during the first part and the last part of the startup procedure. I just pretty much showed the firing up of the engines. This is an exterior view using the same skin as last flight. And we'll be taking off from the same airport as last flight as well. At least the same airport I landed on last flight. So this is the third flight I'm doing with the DC-3, and everything is seeming a little more familiar now. I'm learning a little bit more each flight. I looked up the function of the carburetor heat, for instance, for this flight, and wrote a little more about it. You'll see me later on in the video turn that option on, and usually that's used, I'm not sure about the DC-3 in particular because I couldn't find anything about carburetor heat on this aircraft, but in general carburetor heat is used in certain situations like flying through clouds when the carburetor heat can drop in those situations in the moisture. So you'll see that I'll be flying through a lot of clouds in this video, and I'll turn on the carburetor heat. It's also used on descent in some cases because you turn down the engine power and that can reduce the heat, the carburetor heat as a result. So I'll keep that carburetor heat setting on in those situations during the flight. So now we've taken off, and we'll see a nice little view of Manhattan here. It's autumn, so Central Park is gonna have shades of red, yellows, light greens. And I forgot again to notify Tower of my takeoff, and keep forgetting to do that. But I did remember to notify them during landing. That's something that one of the comments on my first video was about using the air traffic control system to get more enjoyment and feel more immersed in the simulation. And I agree with that, and I'm going to try to use it more and more often. Also, in the course of the flight, I've looked up the hotkeys for some of the controls I use most often. For instance, adjusting the autopilot. By default, those keys aren't set, so I added the arrow keys in the keyboard to control heading and pitch. It's very convenient. Because for some reason in the track IR views, sometimes in certain cases you can't use the mouse effectively. Like, it won't select the controls. You have to like move your head around. You might have seen me doing that in the video to actually get the control to work. So using a hotkey on your keyboard will solve that problem and make your flight more enjoyable. There's Central Park. Looking at the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side, and all the way down to Lower Manhattan. You can see the Empire State Building in the middle, and also the Statue of Liberty way out in toward the right in the water. I was considering flying past it to get a better view, but I decided against it. And this is what most of my flight actually looked like, even though it'll be about 3 minutes here. It was just flying through clouds, trying to get above the clouds. Usually I cruise at about, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 to 10,000, but I was just seeing how far I can climb on this flight. In an effort to get above the turbulence and get above the clouds. What I didn't account for was how slow the DC-3 climbs on full fuel. And that's something I'll change for next flight. And I wanted to change for this flight, but that's the second thing I forgot in the beginning. Was this aircraft's at 100% fuel. And it's not necessary for this short type of flight. And it causes problems during climb out, obviously, because it's such a slow rate of climb with all the extra weight. And also during landings. Landings are quite a challenge in the DC-3. I've been reading a little bit more about them, and yeah, the brakes aren't that powerful, and some forum posts recommended to have a slower speed during touchdown. I usually was coming in at about 100 miles an hour right before my wheels hit, and it was recommended on the forum to be at about 75 miles per hour, and also to get the tail wheel down as fast as possible. Even though you shouldn't do a 3-point landing, you should do a nose-up landing with the 2 front wheels hitting first and then the tail wheel coming shortly after. But once you get the tail wheel down, keep it down, because the aerodynamic profile of the plane in that position will slow the plane down even more. So those are just a few tips for landing, because it's, especially on shorter runways, it's quite a challenge to stop the DC-3. And I gotta say that my landing on this flight it's gonna be pretty sloppy, but there wasn't any harm done, so it was all good. So I'll leave the narration off here for now, and you'll see me climbing above the clouds, and I think when I hit about 13,000 feet, which took a while to reach, I'll level out, and yeah, we'll finally have risen above the precipitation.
Cleared to land, runway 22, Douglas Niner Echo Hotel.
Okay, so now we're on the final sections of our approach to landing. And as I was descending, you saw some views of Pennsylvania in the autumn. The scenery is okay here. I like New York City better. But this landing was tough because, first of all, there's turbulent air. Second of all, that fog, I couldn't even see the runway. So I overshot and had to turn back around. I also realized that I don't think you saw me turn the carburetor heat on, as I said you would in the beginning of the video. I think I edited that part out. So if in case you're wondering, the carburetor heat are the blue knobs close to the mixture, and the hotkey for those are H. And in the DC-3, they're either in the on or off position. There's no kind of fine adjustment. So here I'm just correcting my approach after coming out of the fog. Yeah, and I'm not sure why those indicator lights, yeah, they look different in this airport. They're not too yellow, too red, side by side. They're kind of in a row, or they're kind of one after another. I can't really tell what color they are, so I'm not really sure what was up with this airport. They might be using a different system of some sort. So I'm going to be watching my airspeed here. Try to touch down at around 75 miles an hour. Coming in a little hot. There we go. Still bounced a couple times. Trying to get the tail wheel down, but without causing the aircraft to lift back up in the air again. That's what I was worried about. And then I noticed I was veering off the runway, which means that I have to control with the tail wheel, so I have to unlock it.
Douglas Niner Echo Hotel. Turn next taxiway. Douglas Niner Echo Hotel. Contact ground on 121.9er.
I'll remember next time to look up the hotkey for the tail wheel.
121.9er. Douglas Niner Echo Hotel.
I ran off the runway trying to unlock the wheel with my mouse pointer, so the hotkey would really help. So just kind of learning little tips like that as I go. I'll be doing more of these videos. I think they're pretty fun, even though it's the same plane, and but you see scenery, and it's just kind of something enjoyable about, you know, pretending to be an airline pilot, even though you're not shooting at things or you know, dropping bombs or playing with other people online. It's still pretty cool to fly like this, and yeah. Just going to show an abbreviated engine shutdown procedure in a little bit. And that'll be the end of the video. You can see the carburetor heat knobs, the blue ones. Engines off. Thank you guys for watching. I'll do more videos like this, continuing on my tour of the United States. And yeah, I'll try to vary the weather, try to vary the seasons to kind of maximize the visual effect depending on what route I'm flying. So the DC-3 has been shut off after another successful flight, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.